if you're comfortable, I'd like to be able to do that now. Well, I guess we could do that because it's the contract for our lawyer, right?
Right, yeah, for the
For the gas.
Oh,
gas.
A retainer.
Yeah, it's a
Retainer.
fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Dan got a copy of it, I got a copy of it, and,
But
yes,
so we're kept in the dark again.
absolutely.
Okay.
We try to do
I
that.
just want to know where I
Try to do
stand.
that as
That's
much
all.
as possible.
Thank you very much.
Dan and I were assigned the project to do that, so we won't cover that in the contractual portion of the closed session, so put
Okay,
contractual
so
back
let's
in.
put contractual back in there.
To 13 minutes. But yes, we do. Any other changes? Okay. I have a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay. President's remarks. Obviously, we have, as you know my phrase, lots of energy in the community right now about what's going on with the yacht club and some of the behind-the-scenes things that are happening as far as committees and who the heck's in charge and what's going on. So I have, as I did last meeting where I handed off my president's remarks to Dan Statursky for an update, I'm going to hand my remarks off to Ted Maroney and Bob Thompson for an update. Gentlemen, it's all yours.
Well, good afternoon. What I did was put a quick slide presentation together. There's been a lot of innuendos, a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misinformation out there. So wanted to clarify where some things are with the Yacht Club project. As you know, we've been doing regular updates, one at the work session, one at the board meeting. We've been doing the regular updates at board meetings since January. But
Ted, why don't you get a chair and just join us up here if you don't mind.
When can we question these? I want to sit next to them. We got
Ask them
questions.
how they want to handle that.
so
How do you guys want to handle questions?
I'd like to get through the presentation. It's only a few slides, and then entertain any questions.
Okay.
There's been, like I said, a lot going on with it, a lot of question marks, a lot with some of the publications out there. Let's be clear, Ted and I had a major blow up about 3 weeks ago. It's not anything that's insurmountable. I mean, we've duked it out more than once leading up to where we are now. This one got to be a little heated, and like with any good relationships, you have ups and downs. We've patched it up. We're good with it. We've been working on this project for at least a couple years, and conceptually for about 3, and we've been hard at it for the last year and a half. So there seems to be a lot of information out there and a lot of question marks, so we thought we'd try to clarify some of it today. I'm going to go through some just quick slides to give you an idea on how update on the committee, what we've done and what we're doing moving forward, because that seems to be where the biggest question mark comes in. If you remember, the membership approved the referendum, board agreed with it, signed a contract with Harkins, assigned me as the representative on the contract. That was reaffirmed last week at the board meeting when we made some changes based on change orders and how we would handle payments on those. Reaffirmation of our team. This is the Yacht Club project team. We've worked together 2 years on it, Ted, certainly a year and a half in great detail. Again, we've had our bumps. I'm not going to lie about it. We've had some knockdowns, and Ted will share that with you. We've had behind the scenes and recently out in front. But again, the project's bigger than either one of us or both of us collectively. This is a project for the association. Sorry about the echo. You guys hear that echo?
Sorry, you're fine.
So where we are now is Ted and I sat down. We spent a lot of hours last night, this morning as well, to make sure we were on the same page before this special board meeting. So that if there's any questions for either of us, when I get through, you're welcome to ask them. Some operational issues, some things we decided we would we'd memorialize it a little bit, kind of put it in writing so everyone understood exactly how the team works. We've been doing it, but probably a little looser, certainly looser than Ted would like. And that's what we're putting it in writing so everyone understands how the team works, and that way if there's any question of how we've been working on it. Our meetings were based on initially getting everything started. We had a lot of meetings up front. They were pretty regular, and then as the project got started and Harkins started getting into it, the meetings got a little more loose. They became more phone call oriented, more quick conference calls, check on where we are. And we think that's where part of the communication started to break down just a little bit, because Ted would get a piece, or I would get a piece, or Jerry would get a piece of it. And although we did try to keep up with the email communication, sometimes you miss it when you're not face to face. So what we decided last night was we would go back to a regular meeting at least every other week. Ted's down most weekends or every other weekend, so he can get down on a Friday. And once in a while, if need be, if we have something going on with Harkins in particular, he can get down earlier in the week as needed. And we had to do some of that early on. All meetings will have agendas and minutes. We started doing a little bit of that up front, but because we've all worked together so long, we kind of got away from taking detailed minutes on it. And now it's kind of coming back and grabbing us in the backside the last few weeks, and certainly last week with a lot of the information flying around that's not 100% accurate. I've got everything documented, and I'll share as the questions come up, but that's where we need to do a little better, and we're going to on that. Communications with Harkins, with the team, one of the things that we're going to make some improvements on, I meet regular with Don, who's the senior guy with Harkins. Jerry and Eddie meet regular with Randy on site. They do a weekly meeting. Don and I talk every other week. We're face-to-face probably every third week. What we've done is accelerate that a little bit and decided that we were going to try to get Don in our every other week meeting with our team so he can be there and more engaged with it on a regular basis. But I think that's going to add the improvement we need for the communication. And then, obviously, reporting up to you guys. We've been giving you reports, but apparently some of the information isn't being received as well as I assumed it was. And that's where Ted and I had some bumps on that, and we've come up with some strategies. And they're strategies that we'll believe will work, because a lot of those they used on the community center when it was built. And the updates, how they were given those regular updates. So we're going to continue what we're doing, but enhance it a little bit by adding those strategies to the mix of what we're offering. Things that we're going to do in the next steps to help clarify, because again, there seems to be a lot of misinformation. We want to make sure we clear it up. So we're looking at, the big deal was the stone, the River Rock stone on the outside of the building. It was brought up as early as January of this year. It was brought up in meetings. It was brought up with the board in the meetings. I actually have the clips from the meetings at the end of this that if anybody disagrees, we'll click them and you can watch them. We clipped out the 2 or 3 minutes where we talked about those things. There's at least 3 meetings there where colors and materials were discussed.
I'd like to see it.
It's fine. We'll meet with Harkins by November 6th, and the reason that the 6th is the date we picked, that's when the next working session of the board is, not next week, but the working session part of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to get with Don, Randy, our side, we're going to really tie up any of the things that we know. We know we have some loose ends out there. We're waiting to get information. A lot of it's coming in right now and over the next 2 weeks. We're going to try to tighten that up and put it in a format that we can give you of anything that we see that's outstanding, any of the gotcha issues that we know are coming. We just don't know what the results are yet. But we're going to try to put those all in a format that we can give you so these surprises don't come up for you all. I mean, we're tracking them. Jerry's done a great job with the tracking system. I think what we haven't done is probably given you guys the tracking information in a 1 or 2 page so you can see it, understand, and ask the questions you need to ask. We'll put all that in a list of open issues, things that we know are coming down the pike, at least what we know so far. Again, anytime you're doing construction, you know you're going to have things that pop up. You just have to wrestle through them. We're going to provide a general estimated cost. Part of the sheet that we're working from, and we're going to take another strong look at the dashboard that they use for the community center. It's a 1 page, and it gives this information on a rolling basis. It keeps it updated every time you plug the numbers in. So Jerry's actually, with his engineering background, extremely detailed on these things. So Jerry's we're looking at that template along with what he's been working on. We're going to try to come up with something, either a combination, the one from the community center, the one we're using, or a combination of the two, so you guys can get kind of a dashboard update at every regular board meeting. That's the dashboard I was just talking about. Some monthly reporting. Within the dashboard, just a breakdown of what you're going to see in there. You're going to see the Harkins billing. We get their billing on the 26th of the month with a pay due date of the 10th of the next month. That's per the contract. We'll give you the breakdown based on when the board meeting is of whatever we are current to that point. OPA costs, not including the contract. We're tracking separate from the contract additional costs that were in the referendum. We talked about them. That will be included on this financial chart. I think that's where some of the confusion's coming in. Part of the contract, not part of the contract, part of the referendum, not part of the referendum, and we can do a little better job sharing that. We're tracking it, but I don't think that information is clear when it gets out either to you guys or the general public. Open and estimate times remaining on areas we've been doing. As you know, Bill Rako was great at helping us get the Gantt chart started. Jerry's been doing a very good job, and we've updated, made changes to it in the last few months, hopefully making it easier for everyone to read. We're also going to include some of that information, not necessarily the timelines, but from the financial side of it, and you should be able to marry up the documents when you're looking at it. It should match up well with the Gantt chart. Contingency status, we're tracking that now. We'll keep you abreast of where that contingency is based on the expenditures up to that point. Any significant architectural changes, again.
Excuse me. Is there a draw schedule associated with this project?
Yes, yeah, it's in the contract.
Should we? Okay, I'm sorry. I
You
just
get a
want
copy
to
of
know.
it in the contract.
Any significant architectural and/or any other major changes. Again, by starting as early as January, mentioning the colors and the split face, I thought we were getting the information out. Obviously, it didn't hit the mark because there seems to be question marks still today about it. So we're going to try to put that in written format as well as when we're out talking to folks. All right, I'll leave it there for questions.
Now I can ask a draw
Well,
question.
you had Ted answer. Ted, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just will say this. I've been involved in this project for 5 years, more or less, since long before it. And my previous experience with Ocean Pines has been doing the community center, where we had a certain format and a certain way we did things, and we went into this, and we did it slightly different in here, and it got to a point where I was exceedingly frustrated, and Bob and I have had battles galore many times going through this, and this one just got public and got a little beyond it. My whole thing here was to be able to go in. Bob reached out to me. I met with him and Tom Terry last night. We had about a 3-rounder there. We got everything on the table. We said what we wanted to say. We said what wasn't working, what was working. I said, hey, this is what I think we need to do. He said, this is what we need to do. And we came up basically with what you see here. What we're going to end up giving the board every month is a financial sheet, which is a 1-page thing that'll have everything going on in this project. And we can probably send you a copy of the community center one right now so you can see a draft of it. But it will tell you everything you want to know. It'll even tell you the stuff we don't know. It'll be in there. It's a 1-page dashboard that worked extremely well for us. I think those people here, that Marty in particular was on the board, will tell you how well that worked. You can get a snapshot of what's going on. Second thing is Bob had listed in there, if there is a major architectural change, if suddenly the siding is going to be purple instead of whatever color it's going to be, we will come back to the board and say, hey, right now, even if we're showing it on a board, we're not going to take that as being good enough. We're going to tell you right up front, bang, here's the issue. Are you good with it? Are you not good with it? So there's no confusion, and Bob won't say it, nor anybody will, but we're going to make it idiot-proof, okay? We're going to treat it so that everybody understands what's going on and where we are as we walk through the project. So there's no surprises when we get to the end of it. And third, we're going to work in, and I wouldn't say it's more formal, it's more structured, okay? Rather than having a lot of people doing a lot of different things, we're going to get together as a group, we're going to take it, and we're going to make sure the board's ahead of the curve here. What we're saying is it's going to take us basically the month of October to give you a full thing. And part of the reason is that we're just getting pricing here in a week or so on kitchen and all of that other stuff. And I want to, when I come back to the board, I want Bob to be able to tell the board, we've met with Harkins, we're going to get it in writing from Harkins that all issues are taken care of. I want to have it clean and neat. I don't want to come back to you in a week or 2 weeks and say, then come back a month later and say, oh, by the way, we forgot this. Okay, so that's kind of my thing. I want to get everything in front of the board that needs to get in front of the board. If we're screwed up somewhere, we're going to tell you we're screwed up somewhere. We're going to give you a recommendation of how to fix it. And, and then you can hang us and do whatever else you need to do. But you're going to have it in front of you so the decision can be made at this level for the areas that we need your approval on. So, Marty.
Question for you, if I may. When did you first know about the change from the River Rock veneer to?
I knew River Rock was out. I didn't know that we had switched to the split stone until just a few days ago.
So you, like everybody else, didn't know about the commercial grade split block until a few days ago?
I thought we were going to be able to do a different stone on the front.
The reason I ask is because we're going to see some movies, I guess, where I was unconscious. Because also Bill Rako has said that the first time he heard about it was at the meeting.
How about we show those before the accusations?
I'm not making any accusation. Did I accuse anybody of anything?
Let me just show them so you can see the clip. That's why we took 10 hours to find them, because we know we've been talking about it. The fact that it was missed wasn't intentional.
2 of your team didn't know.
What I'd like to do,
Well,
Before
we go, am I correct that the slide up there with the team, showing the team members, that is currently the team?
that is
that is now?
going forward now.
That is-
And I've talked to Bill less than 2 hours ago. Okay?
I'm with you.
Okay. So.
And that's great news.
Yeah. And what Bill will primarily do is what he did with the community center. He'll get with Jerry. They've worked together before. They're going to sit down and make sure the dashboard is up to date. Then the other thing, Bill goes to Florida in about 4 or 5 weeks for 3 weeks. Before then, he's going to go through, and anybody that knows Bill Rako, he's a detail-oriented guy. He's going to go through where we are in the project and where we need to go to get to the finish and develop a series of outstanding issues, items, or things that we have to do with the county, with the contractor, with the architect, with the board, whoever else, and that's going to serve as our template to drive forward. And so his real work is with Jerry Avetta over the next couple of weeks to make sure everything we've got in the system is tracked and out there, and then we're going to step forward from there. So that's how we're going to do it, and then attack.
Ted, just make sure I'm clear. We're going to be utilizing the work that Jerry's already been done to this point. We're just going to use Bill's advice and counsel and all that. I mean, you guys are going to decide what you're going to do record-keeping-wise going
in my opinion, I think Bob's in agreement on this. So we're going to let Jerry and Bill come to us with a spreadsheet that they've got that's good. Obviously,
Okay.
on this job, all the information that Jerry's gathered has got to go into it, but I'm sure Bill's going to ask him, as we're going to ask Harkins, as we're going to ask Bob, is there anything out here that we don't know about? That's the one thing that we want to make sure of. When we come back to the board in November, I want you to have a true snapshot of where we are, and I don't want to come back in December and say, oh, by the way, we forgot we needed to do this, and that's where we're at.
Well, another question for either party, and I don't want to put a burden on anybody, but would it make sense, since we meet in a working session and a regular session, and you guys are meeting twice, would it make any sense for you guys to do a report twice, once at the working session and once at the regular meeting? If that's a burden on you guys, if that is a burden, would it be better to do it at the working session because it's more open and more free-flowing?
Let's get the documents revised, and then we'll all take a look at it, and then you guys can decide from there how frequently you want those documents.
It would seem
So how do the members of this committee feel? How do they feel about it?
we're going to give
frequency.
you some. We're going to give it to you once a month, okay? And then what I would suggest you do is in the working session, ask Bob the questions, and whatever you don't have for answers, we'll get the answers before you have your regular board meeting to what's presented at that working session, which is the whole idea, to get to where you get to. And if there's some questions as to what we presented at that meeting, ask them. Bob will come back and talk to the team and say, okay, hey, these guys are asking, why are we doing X, Y, and Z? We'll have the answers for you at the regular session.
Okay, Terry, you have to-
Can I just, can I have a copy of your slides?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Dan?
I have two questions. Meetings on a regular basis, Ted just touched on this. You're going to have everybody but Bill who's going to be president at the regular meetings, I would take. How do you foresee that happening? I mean, Bill has a place in Florida and spends quite a bit of his time.
We'll just conference call in.
Okay.
Just like that, we may have to have a meeting while Ted's back home, and we did it before, we just conference call.
When we did the community center, that was a pretty regular thing. Whoever couldn't be there, we conference called into the meeting.
That's fine. I just want to make sure I understood that.
We're going to have everybody there.
Secondly, Ted, when you talk about monthly reports to us, be aware that at the last meeting, you may or may not be aware of this, there was a resolution passed that enabled Bob to authorize changes at a higher level on this particular project, but also in that resolution is a very specific directive to him that any anticipated changes, as soon as they're anticipated, will be reported to this board. That includes the areas that are not yet planned, okay? And we both know that the interior hasn't been designed, the kitchen hasn't been finalized, and there are going to be other issues like that that come up. This board needs to be advised about those when you know about them or soon thereafter. So to your comment, Jack, they may well be in here at both meetings or at special meetings, depending upon the size of the change or what you're bumping.
And I think that's why we wanted to take till the next meeting to get all of that stuff. Because until we sat with Bob, Harkins, Jerry, Randy, the whole group together, we just want to make sure we're not missing anything. And to your point exactly, kitchen prices are coming in, what, the 30th, Jerry? 30th, the 30th of this month. So as soon as we take a look at those, you may get an email from Bob that says, hey, we're going to have a delta here, and we'll discuss it with you when we get to the November meeting. But it'll be a heads up that based on the preliminary, this is what we're looking at.
You know, my turn again. And you guys, as a team, are going to decide the issues that you're going to agree on what needs to come up to us or what. If you're moving a light switch, I don't need to hear about it.
Right.
You know, there's got to be some level here that you guys. How's that going to?
I think
Just so we
part
understand.
of the reason for having a team put together is that somebody may have something and think, okay, that's not a big deal, we're going to do it. But by having other people in here, you've got a past board president, you've got somebody that's been through it once before at the community center. My tendency is to over-notify rather than under-notify. I mean, if we're moving a light switch from one side to the other, probably not going to come and send you a memo that says, hey, if there's a no-cost change order to move it because we're opening the door that direction so we can turn the light on, you're not going to hear it. But if we're redesigning something, if we're changing an aesthetic appeal, if we were having a wall that was going to have a certain decorative thing on it or something like that, that's going to come back to you whether you choose to do anything or not. We're going to inform you of it, but we're going to inform you in writing so that everybody's got it and we can talk about it. And if they're redesigning, right now they're doing some redesigning that's actually going to pick up some ceiling room. When we come in November, Bob comes in November, he's going to have a board that shows you exactly a rendering of what that is, if there's some cost savings, the hows and the whys. And the other thing we will do on any major changes is we will say, here's why we think we ought to do it, here's the reasons not to do it, okay? So we're going to murder board it a little bit and say, this is the good and this is the bad of it, and here's why we're recommending X. And that way, but yeah, I mean, if we change the interior paint colors, believe me, nobody's doing that without somebody here doing it. So,
I just want to make it clear
yeah.
that it was going to be a team decision on those kinds of when and what comes up to us and what constitutes an emergency.
Yeah, because sometimes when people have their nose to the grindstone and they're just looking, okay, we got to get it done, we got to get it done. They're not realizing that not everybody else is as much on the page as they are.
I had a list of questions. Is this the time and place?
I guess.
Okay.
Sure, I guess. Go.
Why did we not ask the county for a waiver on the stone veneer? Or did we?
We actually, at the TRC, we did talk about it. We being Don Smith from Harkins, Kevin Olin from AWB, myself, trying to think of who else was there, but there were several TRC, Technical Review Committee meetings that occurred. We had waivers requested on a couple of the other items. The waiver on the stone, when we got to that discussion point, was strongly discouraged at that point. And this, a question mark came up, we had stone on the community center. Well, the community center was submitted, approved, and built prior to the county, right, November 3rd of '09, the county design changes took place, which meant stone or stone veneer is no longer acceptable. So we had other larger issues that we were working through with waivers. The election there, and based on the feedback we were getting, was to stay the course on the large ones and adjust on that one.
I'll come back to number 2. Marina fuel tanks, is that on the table? I mean,
Sure, you can ask
There's
me.
all things up there.
what was the total cost to move the marina fuel tanks?
Okay, I'm not gonna, hold on a second. It depends on if we want to work that change order document
I can answer.
now. or do we wanna
No,
work it
this is a simple question.
Okay, all
The
right.
change order document doesn't address what's in the contract.
Approximately, total
Okay.
all-in is approximately 65,000, 55 for West Marine, and 10, I'm off the top of my head, we can certainly, you've got the information, so it's in front of you somewhere.
I don't have the contract amount.
Okay, it was 55 and 10. 55 for West Marine and 10 for the Cradles, and they were paid through Jones and Frank.
Okay, and then there was a 27,000 a chop tank.
That
That's
wasn't
not
Marine.
part of it?
No,
It
that
was,
was not.
okay, that's, you're helping now. That's 65. How much was in the contract, since we told the membership that the cost to move the tanks was included?
Remember that?
I think it was 7,000 or 8,000.
Yeah, we had 8,500.
That went into Parks discussed.
9.
So
Eight-
approximately
85.
$74,000.
Well, wait a minute, if it was 65, how'd you jump to 74?
You just told me there was 9 in the contract. You just quoted me 55 and 10, which are in the
That's
change order.
Correct.
That's
That's all in.
upcharges.
That's all. Okay, so that's 65. We had,
Okay,
If
wait a
the
minute.
price was
Hold
included
guys.
in the contract.
Hold on here a second. I don't, you may be talking past each other. The
That's fine.
65 is not on top of the 9, it was the total cost, correct?
he asked me for the total cost.
Okay, that's what
what
it was.
Okay,
So it's 65 minus the 9 as
Minus
opposed to the
the 9.
contingency. It's not on top of the 9, it's, the 9 is in the 65.
well, no, it's in the check. I'm sorry. You're not talking by me, you're
I'm
talking
not
nuts.
talking,
It's on
You
top
got
of the-
55,000 in the contract, in the change order.
Because
You got 10,000 in the change order, and you have some amount in the
So
contract.
it is at, you add
it's
it all
on top
together.
of it. That's the net add.
okay, just what is it? Just what is it?
How much? 74.
65 is the total net add,
Okay.
55 to the one guy and 10,000 for the cradles. So
Correct.
whatever was in the contract,
Okay,
the additional cost to finish it between everything was that was in the
So it is
change
the
order,
74.
65.
I just want to make sure we get it
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah,
That's
me
correct.
too.
That's correct.
Okay.
What Marty said is correct. You
Okay.
got to add in what was in the contract
Okay, so,
anyway.
and the 27 didn't have anything to do with the
Well,
tanks.
Marty, can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
Just because I asked the same question as you did, not understanding that the practice, and Ted, you can jump in here too, but my understanding with Harkins contracting on change orders is that they issue them, unless there's a really big reason to issue them, other than that, they combine their changes and issue them in a monthly change order to us
With the monthly billing, yes.
with the monthly billing. So the $27,000 that's in there for Chop Tank Electric does represent a change to the contract, but it's not included as part of the cost of moving the tanks or the West Fuel Services charges for relocating lines. In other words, these guys we're seeing apples and oranges on some of these change orders,
I got you,
which is what the team will start breaking down for us, I hope.
Okay, now that we've addressed the 27,000, we got to straighten that out. The 27,000 is in essence a pass-through through Harkin. It is not a change to Harkin's contract. They are the billing agent, because as I understand, I'm just telling you what I've been told. They are the billing agent, they are the general contractor. So the bill from Chop Tank went to Harkin. The Harkin contract for the building is not changed due to the power. There's another portion of the $4.3 million which was set aside to pay for power. Now, there's a portion of that budget, and this is why I had the assumption that the 9 was below the 65, not added to it, because there is an amount of money in the budget to pay for moving power. The bill that came through is $27,000. What the team needs to figure out is whether or not that is a net 27 plus 9, or whatever the number is, or is it 27 minus the 9, because there's money already in a budget to pay for moving the electric. I don't know the answer to that right here, and I'm looking for the team to answer that.
And there's more than that. There's another, as I remember from the meeting, it's not written down anywhere. There was another, it is written down in the general manager report last month. There was another $29,000. It was a trade-off that had to do with this block.
Tommy Electric.
Yeah, but that was more electric, right?
That would have been the Tommy side on the Harkin side, yes.
So this is all electric that we missed in the contract negotiation, I guess, because it's in the change order, and you know my definition of a change order is a mistake.
Marty, if I may add, I think the Chop Tank Electric, if I'm reading the contract properly, and Ted help me out here, under Exhibit B, it says, we assume the existing transformer, which is a number, from Chop Tank Electric will remain and new feeders will be installed under a general service agreement between the utility company and the owner based on the local calculations presented and we're able to determine. So that to my knowledge, and I've been looking for it, I cannot find any number in there for that utility thing. And the contract under Exhibit B says that it was going to be something that we would assume. And I'm assuming, and I think that's what that $27,000 number is. Am I correct on that, Ted?
But there's even more to it, and that's why we'll give you the breakdown.
Okay.
Because what ended up happening is before everything fed to a transformer at the yacht club and then fed the pool and fed the marinas. Now you have 3 separate things. So for instance, the marinas are on their own setup, the yacht club's on its own setup, and the pool area's on. So I got to dig into that a little bit more, to be quite frank with you. But we can get back to you with what was in, what was there. And that's part of what that's why we need a month to dig through and find out.
Well, this is complicated. I've
Yeah.
been spending a lot of time on it too. It's very complicated, so I can appreciate that.
All of us have been asking when we got these change orders, are they change orders to the Harkin building contract in dollars? Are they pass-through dollars that we have to pay because in the contract we were the direct purchaser of it, but Harkin is getting it for us in quotes? There's lots of us asking that kind of question.
I think when we give you this breakdown, and I'll address, Marty, exactly what you said, because you're right, that's an add to what was in the contract.
Right.
It's the net add, not a differential in there. We'll
So
have it broken
I
down.
guess we have to put that somewhere to a contingency fund or something.
Absolutely. That's the only place you can go to work with.
Cost of
Okay, the next question will come off as being,
Bob, do you or Jerry want to add anything to this particular piece where we are now on the power or any of that?
We're going to hold firm right now on this one.
Okay. All right. You guys will work it out as a
We'll
team.
definitely work this one.
Just don't ask me to referee again, please. Thank you.
next question, and I've got a list here. Why did it take us 80 days to report that change order? I mean, I didn't know a thing about that change order until,
Change order 2.
Mhm.
Documentation on change order 2 came in the middle of June, is when we received the information on it. Information came on a Harkins one-page, it wasn't an actual change order, it was a change order request one-page document. We were, at that point, verifying those numbers against our schedule of values that were in the contract for the payout amount. And we were in the middle of trying to come up with a more structured, there was no contract change order. You typically don't do a change order without a written document changing it. There wasn't. And we started to backtrack at that point and said, wait a minute, with change orders, we need to get written documentation prior for approval. Right behind that is when the piling started up, same type of thing. We got the piling one in, initially was August 2nd. The follow-up was August 22nd with the actual numbers. From there, that's where Ted actually used the prior change order document, I guess, from the community center and put them on formal change orders with requests and signature blocks and all of it. He formalized it for us. And that's when we sent it to Don for review, went through their review process, and then came back to us. Hence, then we sent it back to you, or gave it to you guys.
Well, just from my edification, who wrote the change order? Who wrote that? Who wrote the actual change order?
The document?
Yeah.
Actually,
Well, I did one of them. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know
Who
what was
wrote-
actually signed, but
Okay. Well, there were two change orders.
three in total.
Well, the pool, right? You're
Yes,
counting.
that was number one.
I'm talking about the two that he's talking about.
Correct.
Ted wrote one. Do we know who wrote the other change order? Was it Harkins?
I did drafts. I did drafts on all three.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
I did
Okay.
draft on all.
That's okay. That's cool. Now, the change order was written, and then the work was done.
No, they started the work before the change order was written.
Okay.
That's where we actually said, well, we've got to start getting this documentation in writing, because you usually don't do
Yeah.
that. Well, I understand that.
No,
but
no, that's not.
Again, pilings, split footers, there was no option there. We needed, actually,
We
Ted,
had
you all-
we had the numbers before an agreement and had negotiated the numbers before we physically started the work on the piling. Okay, because we had two phases there. One, they thought they were only have to do a little area, then when they started opening up other areas, it was bad.
Well-
We required the stuff, but we have a written change order back from them, signed? No, but we had it in writing from them, agreed upon price. And we told them to proceed in accord with that agreed upon price.
Okay. Well, then, moving forward, with any future change orders, and let's assume they're above what, $40,000? Is that our number, Dan?
Yes.
$40,000 will be brought back to the board.
Correct.
Excuse me, I want to clarify, any change orders above 40,000?
You'll see them
That's
all
what you said,
on
am
your
I
monthly
correct?
reporting.
We're gonna see them
Yeah,
all.
I want to see them all.
We're gonna see
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Oh, we
good.
already-
Oh,
we already
right.
said that.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good. That's good. That's good.
You know, part of that authorization to make those change orders, as I said to Ted earlier, is very much as soon as they know that a change is coming, regardless of what the value is, they're going to advise the board, so that we can, frankly, it gives us the choice to get involved or not get involved, depending upon whether it's moving a light switch or moving a building.
Next.
Yeah. Oh, and a lot of this came because the change orders that were in workflow back and forth, and they, at the end, the document showed up, showing the dollars and all that on it, was put in front of me, and of course, I had never been authorized by this board to sign those, so they didn't decide. So therefore, we still have two change orders out there that I've not been authorized to sign yet, and procedurally going forward, as I understand it, we're going to see all of the change orders, and the ones that I need to sign, where the board is going to have to authorize me to do it. Yes or no, right? Now, is that correct?
Well, here's the deal.
Okay.
You need to sign every single change order.
I need to
because
sign all of
you're
them. Okay.
the signer of the contract, okay? So
Yes,
you,
okay.
there. What
I'm not a contractor, guy,
Okay,
so
but
they'll
what-
need me through.
What I believe the board authorized is Bob to negotiate anything below $40,000 to negotiate a proceed on that, subject to you, but you're going to have to sign that change order, okay? Whether it's $1 or $100,000.
Okay, so let me stop you right.
Okay, and what Dan said is that by notifying the board early, if there's something that's below $40,000 or something that suddenly somebody in here wants to talk about, they'll have early notification of it and be able to jump in with both feet and say, hey, I know you're, putting a stop here, but I don't really like that style, so.
Okay, procedurally then, and I'm glad we're going through these details. Bob has the authority to spend up to 40 grand, but I have not been given the authority by this board of directors to sign the change order.
That's right.
Correct him or no?
Okay. So all the change orders come back here and
And I'm going to make a wild assumption, this is still subject to all the other rules that are in place, policies and procedures.
Correct.
All we've changed is the
is the limit. Yeah, that's correct.
next question. This is
Right.
a rumor
Can I
control.
ask what's going to sound like a stupid question?
There are none.
The board authorized the GM, whether it's at $15,000 or at $40,000, to go ahead and agree to spend the money. The board gets notified about it, then what happens if the board says you can't sign the change order? I mean,
That's not a dumb
once
question.
you agree to give a person authorization to do the money, you need to set whatever that limit is and say, hey, notify me of it, but what happens if it gets to this level and the board says, okay, we've authorized him to spend $15,000, he's told Harkins to go spend $15,000, and then the board says, oh, yeah, you had the authority to authorize it, but we're not gonna allow
We can't do that.
the guy to sign the change order.
This
Mr.
brings-
President,
Well-
Mr. President, with all due respect, we do have our corporate counsel sitting right behind you, and it sounds like a great question for him to dig into.
Joe?
Well, as I understand it, what you all have done is designate Bob as the owner's representative under the terms of the contract to approve anything over $40,000.
Up to.
Up to $40,000. If he does that, then that is a contractual obligation on the part of Ocean Pines Association, as long as he has that authority.
Here's my question. Can he sign a change order up to $40,000?
He's your owner's representative, so I would presume under the terms of the
That's fine with
contract.
me. I'm just trying
I
to
would
get the
say,
process.
good,
Yeah.
my question is, what if it's $40,001?
If it's $40,001, he brings that to you all, and you say, you
What if
either
it's
do or
an
do not.
unsigned $40,001?
A what?
It's not been signed by anybody.
Well,
Is
it's a
that
question
a
of,
binding contract or not?
yeah, it's a question of how much money that change costs, Marty, whether it's signed or not signed. If it's $39,900, under your present policy that you have passed, he's the owner's representative under your contract, which is defined in the contract, with the authority to make that expenditure. If it's $41,000, he does not have that authority under your policy, so he is the owner's representative, but he doesn't have that authority. So it's whether it's above or below, regardless of how whether it's.
But, and I may be wrong, but my understanding is with the, what's the right word, reinstitution of this committee, this group, this
Team, please, right words.
this team, it becomes a moot point because all these issues are going to be discussed, and any change orders at all, that's what I heard, any change orders are going to be brought to the board.
Well,
So-
they're going to be brought to the board, Jack, for your informational purposes, but if there's a matter that needs to be done, and I'm presuming, again, without knowing, but I'm presuming Bob's going to vet it with his team, and if they say that $25,000 is a valid expenditure that we need to do, he'll be authorized to spend that money.
Does that sit well with everybody?
I didn't vote for it.
And then,
I think that be using the policy we've been using for years.
Okay, so basically it's informational.
right,
The
that's
decision
right,
has been
so
made.
that there are no
It's
questions
strictly
like
informational.
today.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, who signs a change order over 40,000?
Over
I
40,000.
do after you approve.
Or if you all vote for it and tell Bob that he's authorized
So,
to sign it.
just FYI,
No.
Tom, you're signing all changes.
Okay.
I'm not signing anything.
And that means, and let me tell you, we keep talking about communication. That way, no matter what comes out, whether it's $1
But I need a motion.
or $39,000 or $49,000, every change order, even if he may approve proceeding with the work, because it's less, gets signed by the president. That way, the president knows every dime that's gone out up here, and there's no, hey, we didn't hear about it. And your butt's covered.
Oh, I got it.
Now I got the next question.
Not yet, because having just conferred with our legal counsel, and I agree with Bob's correction of me that it's a good cross-check if I'm signing all of them. It's a very good cross-check, so he can't sign any of this stuff by himself. The issue still becomes if the team decides that $10,000 worth of something, new tile or a different something needs to be spent, and they decide to spend it, they've got the authority to spend it. At the end of the day, I still have never been given by this board what is in essence a mirror level of authority to sign things you've given him the authority and the team to spend, which was your
Well,
question.
no, the board gave him the authority. As the president of the board, that, in my mind, you have the same authority to execute the same document that you have a contractual
Is that true?
obligation.
Done.
Yeah,
Okay,
Bob,
done.
Bob,
Well,
you know, in my opinion, Bob could sign under your policy, but he's gonna have you sign, Tom, but as long as it's within his authority, you don't have to wait.
Oh, I know, I know. All right. Got it, move on, next
But the
question.
community center, every single one was brought to the board. Every single one.
But wait a minute. You signing every change order, does that assume that there is knowledge among every member of the board?
Well, when it has to have been discussed.
He's saying
by-
no,
He's saying
you're
no.
saying yes.
No. What I'm saying, Jack, is that if Bob authorizes a change work order for $20,000 and Tom signs it,
Right.
that's a done deal.
It's
because
done.
you all have given him that authority. They are then going to bring it to you all and say, here's what we've done so everybody knows where we are and knows how the money's been spent. Because as I understand it, that's part of the problem, is not knowing what is going on.
Right.
You've given him authority to do it, and he's going to show you that he has done it.
The reality is you'll know about it even before it's completed, because part of the deal here is as soon as we know we've got a change, whether
That
it's
goes on
changing
too.
something, it's going to get notified to the board.
Yeah.
Then if nobody is saying, hey, look, I want to sit down and look at this thing, we're going to end up saying, okay, it's $7,300, proceed there to be followed by the change order at that amount.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll know about it not only when it's
So if
coming
anybody on this board, when they
signature,
get a
but-
notice of a potential change, wants to raise a hand, then we discuss it.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. Next question, sir.
Rumor on the street is there was a change made to the harbor master office to incorporate plumbing to support a cafe. Is that true?
Fact of the matter is, our harbor master's office, we changed, if you recall, back in the last,
I don't recall. I wouldn't ask the
Let him
question.
answer.
okay, back in last spring, I just can't tell you the exact date, we advised the board, we had petitioned to change our liquor license to allow off-premise sales. Or that change was a change in how we're going to operate the harbor master office to provide more of a, someone comes in on their boat, fills up with a couple 100 gallons, we want to be able to come in and get coffee, beer, wine, soda, ice, whatever they need to take out with them that day. We want to become an actual marina that folks can use it. Hence, we put the bathrooms in. So, yeah, the whole intent from day one was multi-use for that space. And yes, we ran lines for soda and water lines, and they were supposed to be right from the start. We did not have the mechanical drawings yet. The initial drawings did not include mechanicals, so we didn't know there wasn't a pipe there or the feed pipe to get it there. So yes, there's supposed to be lines there. It's been discussed from day one. Hence, we haven't changed our direction. That's also where the liquor license change was.
It's not going to be a cafe. It's going to be a marina harbor master.
Yeah, deli, I mean, you go buy your beer.
Okay. And a coffee pot.
Exactly.
Dump the water.
Yeah.
Pro forma, was it in the original contract? Bob,
I'm sorry.
was it in the original contract? This deli?
The plumbing to that.
Deli
site.
is an incorrect word.
Cafes.
I think deli's fine. I mean,
Well, no, it's, the initial talk was to use that as a multi-use space, yes.
Okay.
Right from the start. There's never been a deviation. And I can tell you, we changed the liquor permit knowing we had that space, so it was going to be cross-utilized. The other,
Okay.
think about the other interesting
Okay.
part about it, that's attached to the yacht club building, but if anybody looks at the design, if you recall, there is a slight separation with that tower itself has a little bit of a break. Our intent was to be able to open that at 5:30 or 6 a.m., whatever time we felt was appropriate for harbor master, whatever else we want to do, and not have to come into the yacht club facility itself. it should be self-sufficient for those things.
Just like the old Moran building was.
Yeah, but it's going to be a little bigger. You're going to be able to come in and have a cup of coffee, talk about who caught the fish last, what the tournament's going on, what the weigh-in was. Where it's more focused towards what a marina should
Good
be.
deal.
I think everything else has been answered. I mean, there's still my question about why we didn't know about the change of veneer, but we're going to have a proof statement crazy,
Well,
and the rest of the world's crazy.
I have one remaining. I think it was alluded to maybe earlier, but I don't want. Is there firm pricing on the kitchen?
There is not.
There is not. So
No.
that's an ongoing.
Yeah, what?
Jack, let me just a little background. Previous boards before we voted to have a professional kitchen designer come in to help design the kitchen as opposed to asking our team or Harkin or somebody to do that.
Yeah.
Everybody. So we asked them to come in to do that. And that feedback led to a design that has now led to pricing that's coming in. And there's, frankly, there could be some issues with that.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it was budgeted, right?
There is a budget.
There is a budget for it.
There is a budget.
Okay, all right. So we're going to try and stay within that budget, right?
When we as a board voted post-budget vote referendum to bring in a professional design team, they came up with a kitchen, and this team's now got to look and figure out where are we.
Okay,
I don't want
good.
to stay where we are at this point, but that's their job to do that.
Jack, we got like three little things here. One, depending on the design, depends on whether the hoods we were planning on moving from the old yacht club to the new can be used, or whether they have to do a whole lot of work to those to refit them because of the shape and the design that the designers come up. That's one thing that's going to, we're in the process of pricing and getting right now multiple prices. The second thing is the examination of the equipment coming out of the yacht club, because kind of like the cradles on the tanks, the stuff looks in far worse condition than anybody expected. So we're going to look at that, but the breakouts are coming. I think, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, we've asked for individual pricing of pieces and parts so that we can try to do a mix and match if need be and provide as many options as possible when the time comes to sit down with it. But yeah, and that's part of what we talked about, providing a general estimate of cost to complete. That's why we need to get these numbers in first before we can tell you that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And yeah,
Gotcha.
just
Go ahead.
tying it up in a
Pull your
little bow for
microphone.
me.
Pull your microphone.
Okay. You're going to provide us with a report based on past expenditures to bring us up to date. Did I hear that
Everything will be
correctly?
correct.
So, okay.
And it'll be a rolling document. So
I understand,
everything-
but I'm talking about prior to, okay. You are going to provide us with a report as to expenditures up to date
Yes.
based on budget versus actual expenditures and what have you. Is it necessary for this board to see it broken down by draw schedule or anything of that nature?
That'll be in there as well.
Okay, well then that answers that question. Will that be posted up on the website so that the folks in the community can see that kind of thing? Is that a good idea or bad idea? I mean, I don't know.
Great idea.
Totally.
That's what I'd say. It's fine with us. I don't care.
In my mind, the answer to that is yes. Now, we said the last meeting we were going to put as much of this information up there as we can.
Okay, okay. I rest my case.
In fact, they're working on a dedicated page for the yacht club just to house all of this information, so
Okay.
people can easily find it.
Well, I feel a heck of a lot better.
Any other questions?
Not a question, just a comment. Ted, thank you for putting your feelings aside and getting back on the team. Your dedication to the community has been invaluable, and that team is going to be fantastic for everybody to get the rumor mill, rumor control on. And I appreciate your help and everything that you're doing, and Bob and Jerry and the whole team. You're doing a great job. Thank you for your time.
Any other questions? I will say to these two gentlemen what I have said privately. Thank both of them for coming together for the betterment of Ocean Pines. It was, as Ted was saying last night, I had a whole head of hair before we met.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. That was a lie.
As big a jerk as Mark.
So thank you very much for the update. We will move on to public comment at this point. Do we have a microphone for public comment at all?
Here, you can use mine.
Just step up and use that.
Oh, behind you guys.
Oh, is there one here? Whatever. Just use
Jeff Nipper, 1210 Carrollton Lane. I have been asked to give some public comments that Joe Reynolds would like to have given but can't be here.
Jeff, we scheduled this meeting because he couldn't be here.
It didn't work.
that. It's not true.
I'm kidding.
He doesn't think that way. You'll have to forgive me. This is the first time in all of my public speaking that I've read from a script. I never ever read from a script. I stand up and say what I want to say. But these are his words, and this is for Joe Reynolds, 84 Watertown Road. First, let me thank the OPA Board of Directors for holding a special meeting to discuss the construction materials to be used on the new yacht club. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend the meeting due to a previously scheduled casting instruction for association members event at the Southgate Pond. The primary issue before the board seems to be the current proposed use of inexpensive split block in lieu of the river rock stone as shown in the referendum materials and as included in the contract with Harkins. Since the county precludes the use of stone without a waiver, a replacement material may be necessary. Given the river rock was a prime architectural feature of the new building, any change to this material certainly deserves very serious direct attention by the Board of Directors. As an association member, my first recommendation would be to seek a waiver from the county for the original river rock stone facing material. The county code regarding this is intended to preserve the rural and coastal character of the county by regulating materials for large commercial structures in high traffic, high visibility areas. The code provides for administrative waiver of the stone prohibition. If the county does not allow a waiver, then the board needs a fallback material to replace the areas of stone on the new building. The code does allow brick, and this might be a first consideration, even if more costly. In my view, the $4.3 million authorized in the referendum does not represent an absolute ceiling on cost. Among other allowed materials are cedar shakes and cedar impressions, whatever that is. Certainly cost is a consideration. However, cheap split block should not be the major architectural feature on our new yacht club. Take a deep breath. Forget all the political issues and personal ego issues. They are all unimportant and few will remember them. What will be remembered is what you do now to produce a quality building. Step up, do the right thing for the association members and all of Ocean Pines. Select an architectural material worthy of the premier structure in the Ocean Pines community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, I can stand back here. I'm pretty loud. Tom Janicek, 17 Lookout Point. I just had a couple of comments. You went over the job of, the harbor master's office. I appreciate that. My main problem is as Jack mentioned at the last meeting, it wasn't a trust issue with Bob. Everybody trusts Bob. Well, it's becoming a trust issue. And it's not because nobody trusts you. It's because there's no information. If it wasn't for Joe Reynolds putting all this stuff on this website, there wouldn't be anybody in this room. And you wouldn't be probably having this meeting. And you say there's all this misinformation out there and misinformation out there. Well, the simple fact is I still haven't seen the video of the split block decision that you made 10 months ago or whenever it was, that you took 2 hours finding on all these videos, and I'm sure you found it. But either way, don't shake. Please don't. You could be so condescending. And this, I paid here.
I cleared my throat.
I saw you. I mean, everybody sees it. So the fact is that 3/4 of the board didn't know that the split block was going to be on there. If not the whole board. I don't know how many. I know that Marty didn't know. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. And this went in the permit process. You spent over however much money you spent on bells and whistles in that program to send it out to the 8,000 or 88,000 households so they could look at this thing with all these shiny pictures and this wonderful river rock, and then arbitrarily just change it without telling anybody, or without telling the board, or without, God forbid, telling Joe Reynolds so he can get it out to all these people so we can have this meeting 4 or 5 months ago to discuss the differences, the things we could do. Stack stone, cedar, brick, I don't care, pick something. Not block. I mean, it's a Home Depot, for goodness sakes. So I just, it just bothers me that there's no communication, that nobody on the board knows what's going on, and you seem to know all that's going on and be in control of the whole thing. I appreciate you bringing Ted on. That was great. That makes a big difference. But I think you need to get the word out of there. And when I see a member of the board at the yacht club, well, not at the yacht club now, but the country club, and ask them what's going on, they should know. I mean, I don't know what the new name of the yacht club is, but it's not Bob Thompson's. I mean, so we should all be involved, or at least the board should be involved, so when we see somebody out, we know what's going on. That this doesn't come as a surprise. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anybody else? Over here.
Come on up.
I can talk loud.
You can talk from there. Go ahead.
I have a couple of things just to mention.
You have to give your name, please.
Joe Sheridan, 398 Ocean Parkway. I have moved. We talked a lot about who's going to sign what, where, and how. Who signs off technically that the change is necessary? No, Bob doesn't, because he doesn't have a technical background, building background.
That would be that gentleman sitting right over there. Ted.
The
The team.
And we have an engineer sitting right here.
We have
I'm
an
asking
engineer.
who, I'm not saying you don't got nobody,
Whoa.
I'm saying that.
I'm not getting this train off the track, all
I
right?
agree.
I run a construction company in Washington,
Thank
D.C.,
you.
have for 30 years. I work for people like Clark, Donahoe, Davis, Paradigm, so that's my background.
And
Bill
this is my-
Rakow's also on there, who's been in the construction thing, and we've got plenty of people that we reach out to if we're not sure.
But who signs off on the technical issue? Do I need this change?
That would be the team that was discussed right here,
If it's less than 40,000.
So it'll sign off before it goes to you or Bob?
and we also have Jerry on the team too.
But it'll be signed off technically before it goes to anybody, money-wise? Okay. We talked about getting changes and how do we fix it? Well, typically, my background is if you have a change in a contract, okay, and it's something that you can't price today, you make a change order not to exceed. And both parties sign the change order. That way, you at least protected yourself to some level, and it's a legitimate, go behind the scenes change. Talk about the pass-through. We talk about the kitchen going through the contractor. Bob told me months ago that the contractor is going to coordinate the pool at no cost. I understand it ended up.
I'm sorry.
The pool.
I'm sorry.
And as I understand it, it was like $3,500,
Yeah.
$4,000. But we make it.
Yeah. Hey,
Now we're talking about a
it wasn't nothing,
Yeah.
it was
Now we're talking about
$3,500
a
or
kitchen.
something.
Now we're talking about a kitchen and whatever else there is.
Mhm.
Typically, there's no such thing as a pass-through because they have general administrative expense. To administer it, they have the responsibility. They have everything. You're not going to get everything. If you get a pass-through, you've done a good negotiation. But that typically doesn't happen. It costs you money. You said that we have a monthly payment schedule. Okay, I don't know how it's made up or anything, but that's immaterial. But in accord, what is the basis for that monthly payment schedule? I mean, we're just not going
general administrative charges, demolition, site prep, concrete, everything is broken down, and then we look at it each month and determine a percent complete. So what they'll bill us on, say, concrete, the guy will bill us 40%. We'll go out and figure out, do you have 40% of the contract? Will you have that amount done by the 30th of the month? Usually, they have been actually underbilling us on percent complete, so we're not making any, we're not
So
arguing.
we have a good,
We're not,
we
yeah.
have the contractual way then not to make a payment if they're not performing to the level of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what the draw schedule is all about.
Okay. And do they have a bond?
No.
I heard a yes and a no.
No, they do not.
Okay. Maybe I should, but I talked to the county, and the county more than once, talk about with regards to rock, more than once expressed to me, all they got to do is make it an appeal for it, make a change, ask for exemption. It sounded like, it wasn't like, don't do anything, don't talk to me, don't open the door. It sounded like, I'm not saying they'd approve it, but it sounded like they were certainly willing to entertain it.
Okay.
And I think that's, like has been said, a major issue on this. Is there any penalty for missing schedule? I mean, Bob, you tell me, or you've been quoted as saying you've got 12, 15 things lined up for upstairs, private area. What if, I've designed houses before, just for itself, and had them built. And a house can take a good 5 months.
Bob, do you?
There are no liquidated damages.
I didn't think there were.
There are no liquidated damages in there. They have a schedule that they need to keep. And in fact, even with the delays, with the pile driving and stuff, they are within, they've made up about 2.5 days in the last, Gary, is that correct, in the last month? So they are very close to being back to schedule, and part of when we meet with them is going to be.
But there's no way, other way, but just right now we're keeping our fingers crossed.
I think they're going to be there. I think they have fat in the schedule to start with, truthfully. So.
Well, like I say, I've seen houses built, and maybe other people have built them, but it can easily take 4 months, 5 months to build a 3,000 square foot house, or less.
Our
6
key
months to
issue
go.
Our key issue is to get under roof. Once we're under roof, we can work however much it takes.
Good.
With the draw schedule, it's just as important to the contractor to get done as it is for us to have it.
That's right.
I mean, he didn't get paid.
That's how he gets paid, right?
Oh, there's no question, but contractors do slip schedules.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have one question. I'm Peggy Turner, and I've communicated.
Peggy, your address? Just
337 Ocean Parkway. And I've, addressed some of the questions I had to the board. Thank you for answering me this week. But I want to go back to this change order process. If the contractor decides he wants to do a change, and he needs a change order written, it sounds like either he or one of the group will write it up. And Mr. Thompson now has authority to approve up to $40,000. Above that, the board, your approval is necessary. What if he goes on and does that work, and the change order has not been totally written, and it has not been approved at the appropriate level? What is your policy on that? Because that's what's happened.
We're looking backward or forward?
Well, let's look forward.
If we're looking forward, I'll let you guys answer that.
Real simple. He's got to have a price into us on all change orders going forward prior to proceeding. He's got to receive written notice to proceed. So in other words, he's going to get a written notice that says, you're hereby directed to proceed with da-da-da-da-da in accord with your letter of such and such, not for the amount of X, Y, and Z. The paperwork may follow that to him, but as long as you have a letter from him, you've accepted the letter, and you've spelled out the terms and conditions, and it says in that letter, all other terms and conditions in the contract will remain same. That's almost the same as having a change order, and the change order is just a matter of going through it. Mr. Moore could correct me if I'm wrong on that. But basically, we will have a number, we will give them written direction to proceed with that number, and if they, now where you can run into a situation if they proceed, is if they get out there and they say, look, we think we need to do X, and they haven't come to us with a number or anything, and they go ahead and do it, we have every right in the world to say, hey, sorry, you proceeded at your own risk without written direction from the owner, and therefore, thank you. Thank you very much, assuming we wanted to change. Thank you very much for the change.
You guys will step up and say that.
Yeah, well, our job here, in particular since we're going to be meeting in markets as a group, is to ensure that we're getting the best product for the least amount of money. So that's not a problem sitting in a room and telling them here's how it goes. They won't, I will tell you right now, as Marty said, on a draw schedule, they want to get done so they can collect. It's the same thing on a change order. They want that thing approved because they can't bill for it until it's approved. And that's what.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot this past couple of weeks, and a lot of people in this association assume that you'll just go ahead and pay for it, whether they ask you or not. And they did the worked at risk. You guys are just going to blanket approve it.
They don't proceed without us saying go.
Okay.
And I don't think, knowing the Harkins construction company, they want protection.
Okay.
It's actually all, as a board, we discuss stuff ad nauseum. It's in writing and already signed. That's the way the contract's written, though, pretty much the way we just talked about it. Now, that may not have been the way it was done, but it's the way it's written and signed. I mean, these policies, we keep scratching our head and go, maybe we ought to write a new policy to cover the policy, to cover the policy, to cover the policy. It's all written.
Okay. Anybody else?
One last question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is one last statement. I don't know the names of everybody on the board, but the young lady there, basically read a part from the contract. And the part you read had the word assume. That's a very dangerous word in a contract. You can't leave it to assume.
Well,
Now, that
assume
may have
means they will take on.
In this case,
In this case, it meant that they would, the association would assume the cost of the electric work to be done. And I didn't write the contract. I was just reading it.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I didn't know the whole context of the sentence, but the word assume is very good.
Thank you.
yes. Anybody else?
Bob Reed-Schneider, 4 Helm Court. I came here, really one reason I read an article yesterday in Courier. Very upset about Ted. Very happy to hear that this thing has been worked out. I wish some of the naysayers in this group, I think this is obvious that this work is in progress. These people are able to correct problems and work on problems. I just wish the rest of you, instead of naysaying and nitpicking and picking on personalities, would let them do their work. I could sit here and go through some names, which I won't do. But I get tired of hearing the same people at every board meeting. I don't come to all of them, but they seem to be here and they're always negative. Let's get positive for change.
Anybody else?
Randy Roblett, 6 Circus Way. 8 or 10 months ago, somewhere thereabouts, I'm not sure, I stood before this board and said to the board what I thought was their most troubling problem they had and something they needed to correct. And that was the credibility of the general manager. Now, I'm talking about when he was talking about whether the pools were full or the pools were empty or whatever, but a lack of information, and this board woefully lacks putting out prompt, correct, accurate information to the membership. It's an area that you need tremendous progress to be made. I'm glad Ted has decided to come back. I hope that he can help forward information more promptly. The question I have is, are the meetings that you're going to have open to the public? The team meetings.
They haven't been to date.
And that's part of the problem. When the public can't come to the meeting, then you can decide, you, Bob, the team, the board, what information we're going to put out. Because now we don't know what's happening behind those closed doors. It's not legal information.
It's not personnel information. It's community information. So I think you need to make a change, and that's allow the public into those meetings and the press. I would recommend, let me say this first. I was always told that if you're going to complain about a situation, think that it's not right. If you don't have an answer, then you're part of the problem. So I have an answer. I have a recommendation. It's not a total answer, but a recommendation. I think the team needs to have a board member on it that goes to all those meetings. Yes, you're going to meet every 2 weeks and you're going to hear, but you're not going to go to their meetings and hear it from the horse's mouth. So, in a synopsis, we need, and Tom, I think you said the website won't be up for another month or 6 weeks or whatever.
I don't know how long it's going to take.
I would suggest that you start putting it on the OPA website immediately.
Yeah.
If you can, somebody
We'll
can
do
type
the best we can. We can't get the dedicated page yet, but we'll get as much of it up as we can.
I understand that. That will help put forth accurate, prompt information. Adding a board member to the team would help allay the fears that we're not being told everything, and allow it open to the public would also allay those fears. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I ask one last question? I'm sorry.
You had your last question.
That's it. You had your last
This
question.
is your second last question.
Can I have my second last question? It's nice seeing you at the, whatever it was, the closing of the yacht club. Can anybody see the contract file?
Or is Joe? Did Joe have to leave?
Joe left.
Yeah, the contract.
I mean, it's just a contract.
Can they see the Carkin contract?
It's an executed contract.
Absolutely.
Sure.
It's that you have the right to see
Yeah,
it.
the answer is yes. Thank you. Okay. All right. All right. Now, I had,
Whoa.
whoops. Oh, sorry.
Tom Bickerstaff, 29 Wood Duck Drive. I'm just wondering if it's too late to go back to the county and get approval for a waiver so that we have the original facing or the facing on the building that was originally presented to the membership. That was part of the referendum that we voted on.
That was one of the things that was up on the, that we're going to be taking action on. We will have gone back to the county and submitted for a waiver, and we're also going to put together other materials that can come to the board that we can say, hey, if we get the waiver, here's what we have a possibility of using. If we don't get the waiver, here are the other materials that we have a possibility of using. And we'll be moving on that extremely fast as to not delay construction going forward. So that, yeah, we're already going to proceed with.
Well, and I've talked to the county, but and Ted doesn't know because I talked to him earlier today before the meeting. There's some hurdles that need to be accomplished, so that's part of what we'll talk about in our first meeting of how and if it's a reasonable request to be able to do it. So
Bob, it is also fair to say we'll come back with other materials that are approved, different from the split
yes,
block.
we're already working on that.
So the answer to your question is yes.
Yes.
Okay, I have a board member that I know has to leave in about 10 minutes for a family event, son getting married and all that stuff. So I need to move on to I just need to know the consensus of the board when it comes to change order number 2 and 3. The work is done, the work has been reviewed, apparently it was done well. Do I have the authority to sign those change orders?
Do we need to make a motion?
I move that you accept those 2 change orders as written, as I've seen them.
Yeah.
There's people in this board that may not have seen them.
Okay.
Have you seen them?
No.
Have you seen them?
Yes, I do. I got it right here in front of me, and I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Is
Yes,
there a
don't do it again.
Exactly. You got it.
Heard loud.
We got that part. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We can take care of that. Discussion of yacht club materials. I think we pretty much already had some of that discussion.
Yeah, but I have a question.
Sure.
And this would be
On
probably
the
more
agenda,
to
sure.
Ted than anybody else. I don't mean to sound like the hard ass I always sound like. If this was my building and I was paying, what is it, AWB for architectural advice, and they walked into the county with a prohibited material after I spent a fortune on a referendum, I would go to AWB and said, hey, come here, little come to Jesus meeting,
Marty,
fix it.
That's happening. We actually, part of our discussion last night
Okay,
was where we are. So yeah.
I would like to see them do the legwork. I don't want Bob calling the county and you running around and Sharon looking for material. I've got Parker Block putting packages together. What are we doing it for? We already paid for this service.
That little discussion was part of what we talked about last night.
And AWB's already putting it together.
I wasn't there. What?
I know you weren't. They wanted to.
You guys gotta stop having
Anything
these
else?
meetings.
Anything else on the materials at this point? Obviously, we're going to be looking for something else. Hopefully. All right.
Yeah, I have one comment on the materials. Okay, my understanding, and I believe Marty's understanding is the same thing, is that we approved colors.
Correct.
But we have not approved materials.
That is correct.
That materials, you'll notice plural and not singular. So when the team is ready, I'm assuming that we're going to get a full panel of here's the materials and a full description of each one to approve.
I would assume that's
Yeah, and I think
already in the
just you're looking at, you don't need to approve the drywall. But you want to know the architectural finishes on the outside of the building and on the inside, anything that, you know, what the building's going to look like, what kind of siding. So, yeah.
Well, right now we're dealing with the external appearance, Ted, because the internal appearance is, as we both know, a very different issue.
Right.
And
But
something
yeah,
that I think we'll take as a second step. I hope you all will look at it that way.
And what we'll do is we'll to make sure we'll present exactly what's going to be, and that'll be where we're at.
Thank you.
okay. Moving on.
Tom, Mr. Terry, Mr. President.
Yeah.
I know the public comments are over, but I thought of one thing. Can I have 1 second to speak?
Go ahead, Randy.
I've attended numerous board meetings and watched many people stand up and speak, and the board sits there and looks at them like they're staring right through them. I think it might.
Notice that didn't all happen today, but go right ahead.
Yes. I'd like to think that maybe some of these people who are commenting, if it's a good idea, that you look at that person and say, thank you, we appreciate that, or no, we're not going down that road, instead of just sitting there like bumps on a log, and then the person sits down and they never know what happened to them.
Randy, it's
And I don't mean you should get into a long,
I got
protracted
it.
conversation, just, yes, thank you, or whatever.
I get your point. And to add to that, one of the reasons that we created the work sessions that are open to the public is as part of that structure of those work sessions, if anybody attended the first one we did, every issue is, we go, well, Sharon, you explain what we do, because you actually chaired those meetings.
What we do, Randy, is 2 topics. So if we're having a discussion about, I don't know, the color of the walls that are going to be painted on the inside of the building, and anybody would like to have a discussion of that, they are allowed to come up and say, gee, I think it should be pink. And we should say, okay, that's good, or, you know, we would like to have it purple, whatever. But we do have more give and take because our work sessions, we do no voting, and we want to keep this more open communication. But it is to topic. So if there is an issue that is not, that's being discussed, that isn't an appropriate place to do it. But I understand what you're saying. I get it, man.
It's a good point. I just want to make sure people understood that those work sessions were designed that way so that the members can be an active participant with the board to discuss issues and give and take. In some ways we did today, but so good point. Thank you. Media questions. Don't see any hands.
Can you wait? Joe's almost done with his class.
Okay, need a motion to go into closed session. We still need to do that.
Yeah, I move that
Thought we were going to see a movie.
we go into a closed session to discuss personnel and employment matters.
Okay.
I think some of the people, I think Marty wanted to see this clip. I don't know if
You
there's
still want to see the clips?
Yep.
If you want.
Yeah, let's.
There are people here that want to see it.
Okay, so
I'll do it real quick. Well, thank you. That's all. Come on.
we will go into closed session as soon as the,
So-
do I have a second on that motion?
I'm not by anybody.
session.
Look, I'm paying my
investment
like everybody else, so I have.
That's the only reason I raised my hand.
You got a motion, but no second.
I'm sorry.
Now that you got a motion and a second,
Now we got
and we
discussion.
vote on it, I don't have to watch these damn movies, I can leave.
Okay, do I have, all those in favor of going to closed session for personnel issue?
Aye.
Opposed?
Is that going to be here or the?
My guess is we'll go back to the boardroom for that closed session.
Really? Okay. See you over there.